If you can keep people from asking the right questions, you can always keep the real truth hidden. It's when people start asking different questions that those in charge of keeping things hidden get worried. And people are now starting to ask the right questions, primarily regarding the continent of Antarctica. There are different expeditions going down there now that are finding things they shouldn't find. They're finding things that even they are saying we shouldn't have found. Many have alleged over the years that Atlantis is truly the lost continent of Antarctica. Even intelligence agencies around the world many years ago put out the psyop of flat Earth to convince people that Antarctica was just an ice ring and they should ignore it. And they got a lot of people to stop looking at Antarctica by creating their own version of lies so that people started asking the wrong questions. Well, that's starting to abate now. Plato said, when he told the story of Atlantis, that those who inhabited it were half god and half human. They created a utopian civilization and became a great naval power. We're going to cover that in today's video. Atlanteans were brilliant engineers. We're going to cover that as well. About 12,000 years ago, according to Plato, they built palaces, temples, harbors, docks, and a very complicated water system. All of those we're going to cover today. Farmers grew food on a small field, and behind the field, where the mountains met the sky, was where the Atlanteans had their homes. Plato had described the huge buildings, fountains with hot and cold running water, walls covered with precious metals, and statues made of gold. Today, Atlantis is often described as a pseudo-historical or mythical place, but is it really? This was an image that was created to describe what Antarctica might look like to a new explorer. And I think it's really great to see the juxtaposition of an individual with a walking staff and a backpack and a bedroll next to a fire, where, of course, something has been hunted and is being cooked for a meal, right next to a Stargate, where sometimes it's not either or with technology. That means you can have very, very advanced technology right next to some very primitive things, because there are some things that you'll just never get away from. Massive discovery in Antarctica that is going to open up all sorts of questions some people don't want answered. Discovery of hidden world under Antarctica ice has scientists jumping for joy. Sorry about that. 1 second. Computer gets a mind of its own sometimes. A never-before-seen ecosystem lurks in an underground freshwater river deep below the icy surface in Antarctica. What you are seeing is a recording from a camera that they dropped down 1,600 feet under the ice into a freshwater river beneath the ice in Antarctica. They were not expecting to find even a microbe. Let me say this again. They weren't even expecting to find a microbe. And they found an entire swarm, a huge swarm of shrimp. A colony this large would, of course, need to be eating something. Would they not? What would that thing be feeding on? And for the colony to survive and thrive like this, there would have to be something hunting it, because it would overpopulate if there wasn't, and it would outrun its own food source. So for this to exist means there is an entire food chain below the ice, the freshwater ice in the inland of Antarctica. And that changes everything. A never-before-seen ecosystem lurks in an underground river deep below the icy surface in Antarctica. Researchers recently brought this hidden world into the light, revealing a dark and jagged cavern filled with swarms of tiny shrimp-like creatures. The scientists found this secret subterranean habitat tucked away beneath a Larsen ice shelf, a massive floating sheet, largest iceberg, 1,640 feet below. They thought it was a mistake. When they dropped the camera down, hundreds of tiny blurry flecks obscured the video feed. Initially, they thought the equipment was faulty. Swarmed by tiny crustaceans, they caught the team off guard as they had not expected to find any type of life this far below the icy surface. Let me say this again. The experts, the people who went there to do this, to take this picture, had not expected to find even microbial life. And they found a thriving ecosystem. They have no explanation based on their own science. Having all those animals swimming around our camera means there's clearly an important ecosystem process happening there. One, according to them, that shouldn't even be happening at all. I mean, they said they were happy to see it. Getting to observe and sample this river was like being the first to enter a hidden world. They're getting closer. And they, quote-unquote, got the right spot. The team was also surprised to learn that the cavern looked drastically different from what they had predicted it would look like. Once again, over and over again, using different language, they're saying, we were wrong, we were wrong, we were wrong. Over and over. Every time you see them say unexpectedly, that means they were wrong. Quote, we're going to have our work cut out understanding what this means. But let's go back to Plato for a minute. Brilliant engineers, great naval power, temples, harbors, and docks. We've shown this region multiple times, and I don't know how anyone who's any kind of a civil engineer doesn't see it. Doesn't see the roadbeds. Some people said that these are giant scrapes in the rock that were a result of retreating glacial ice masses. How do you get the scrapes 90 degrees to one another perfectly over and over and over again? Did they retreat from the sea or toward the sea? Were they advancing toward the sea? How do they get sideways at 90 degrees? See, this is the remnants of a city. These are the grooves that you're seeing are the roadbeds. These are the ports that talk about the great naval power. We've even shown remnants of that in other parts of Antarctica. You can actually see some of the remnants of the frozen ships on the ice. The conning towers, what looks like some type of an aircraft carrier. The bow, the stern, very clear. Very, very distinct and clear to see. And one of the finds that we've made that nobody has even attempted in the 4 years I've been doing this to refute is right here. They talked about great palaces. I think this would qualify as the shadow of one. Given the type of shadow, I don't know how anybody looks at this and says, oh, that's just a mountain. I'm just not sure how anyone could look at this and say, this is a natural formation. So what have we covered? We've covered great naval power, engineers, palaces, harbors and docks, water systems. I mean, what else is down there that they haven't found yet? It's the size of Antarctica. Pardon me. Antarctica is the size of Europe. Antarctica is actually larger than the entirety of Europe. And you can see where they had their homes. When they talked about the places where they would be living. One second. You can see it right here. Let me see if I have the angle on this correct. Sometimes all it takes is just a minor shift in angle, and you can see the wall right here. Let's hop to another one real quick. They hide this stuff in the layers. And it's all over the place down here. This is the one we covered most recently that correlates to what they found in the rainforest of Bolivia. Identical size. Identical size. They used LiDAR to uncover this. So anyway, this was not a very long video. I didn't want to belabor this point too much, but this is the key. Whenever you read these articles, they're saying now over and over and over again, we don't understand why we're finding what we're finding because it shouldn't be there based on what we think we know. And that's really the key. You see, what they're going to do is they're going to keep private people from going down there as much as possible because they want to make sure all of the information they release doesn't contradict anything they've already established. Because that's the key for them. You see, they have their knowledge base as a religion. And they already know everything. So if they find things that directly contradict, they're going to try to keep that hidden more and more and more. But the great thing about how fast Antarctica is melting is that they're not going to be able to stop everybody. And looking for these articles and picking these kind of articles out is going to be key to uncovering the truth and putting them on blast so that they can't hide the real truth of where we come from and who we are. So I'll leave it there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.